All right. I'm with Prop Girl today. I'm very excited to be here with Prop Girl. Prop Girl is somebody who I've known for about a year now. We're both in the Invest CEO community, and that's how we met. And Prop Girl's also been a beta tester in Echo for about a year now too. She's been really instrumental in becoming an organic mentor for a lot of the people in the Invest CEO community and to a lot of beginner and even more experienced traders in the way that she manages her accounts. I think she has a really unique story to tell. Prop Girl, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Background, family, how long have you been trading?
Sure. Well, I've been trading about 18 months, a little over a year. I didn't know what day trading was a little over a year ago. I have a business with my husband. He's an audiologist and I'm a speech pathologist. And so we have a practice together with 3 locations. We have OT speech and audiology. And I had been able to hire my replacement and kind of pull myself out of the daily business stuff. And so I was looking for something else to do and, something that could generate some income. So I explored a bunch of different options, click funnel stuff and um, started seeing day trading ads in my social media feeds. And I, at some point, was like, oh, maybe this is something that I could do. And like I said, I didn't even know what it was. I thought you had to be a Wall Street, investor to day trade. I don't know. And so when I learned that this is something I could do from home and for a short period of time each day, I was like, okay, well, I'll try it, see if I can do it. Just got hooked. We have a big family. We still have 4 kids at home and my days are very busy. And I just really loved that it was something that I could do, again, for not very much time and that has the potential to produce a big income. And well, that's how I got here.
Yeah, absolutely. And a very similar story to a lot of other people, especially people with families. And I can resonate with that too. Having 2 kids, I originally got into it for, to support my family. Number one, I thought it could be a good side income. And then it kind of became the main thing. Can you just talk about how it, impacts your family, whether positively or negatively and what your goals are there for your family?
Well, it's been a unique experience trading over the summer with the kids home from school. It is a little chaotic in the mornings and, I'm always having to make sure the night before that I kind of have a plan for them so that they give me a little bit of time that I can focus. That's been interesting and it definitely gives me some perspective for other moms in particular, stay-at-home parents that are trying to make this work. I'm never been a person that's really excited for school to start up again, but this year I'm like, at least I'll be able to think straight. So that's definitely a little bit of a challenge. I think it'd be much harder if I had really small kids. Mine are a little bit older, but it's definitely a challenge. I think one of the advantages of it that I didn't anticipate early on was the interest that a couple of my kids have shown in it and that I've been able to teach them about the market and how trading works. And, even my 8-year old, who's our youngest, she understands that the market is an auction and she understands that you need to buy low and sell high. And I'm really hoping that as she gets older, this is something that I can teach her to do so she can go off to college and, kind of support herself with trading. So it's been just kind of an interesting mix, and I'm a full-time trader now. I most of my work meetings are in the afternoons and I'm fortunate that I have this time available that I can just focus on trading.
Amazing. And any of that extra income, is it going to like family vacations or saving for college, or how's that? Is it impacting you in a positive way?
No, I haven't done anything yet except just I have a dedicated account where the money goes and it's just sitting there. But eventually, yes, I do have plans. We have
Use at some point. Yeah. Plan
yeah,
something fun.
we need our whole front porch rebuilt, so I kinda have, that in mind.
The house projects are good too. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. And I love that too. So I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and my 5-year-old is just starting. She sees the candles when I have the chart up, and she knows that green means up and red means down. That's kind of the extent of what we got into so far for my 5-year-old. But I fully plan the same thing. Especially in an AI driven world over the next 5 years, we're going to see a lot of evolution with AI. I think them learning that skill that can benefit them in the future. I think no matter what happens. When did you start trading, and when did you give us kind of your journey? When did you start to scale your capital across prop firm accounts?
Well, I feel like I kinda have 2 start dates because I started like with a particular mentorship program. I went to a webinar and I fell victim to the sales pitch. And so I signed up for this thing like, oh, I'm going to do this. And it did not click for me. It wasn't the right approach. But it really whet my appetite to learn more about trading, and so I just kinda dove in, and I was watching lots of YouTube videos and, all the things I think everybody kinda does, but finally found the Invest CEO community, and, that fit, that felt right. I liked the idea that this was, a thing like, get it over with in the morning, and then you're done, and you can go about your day. So, that was, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months after I first discovered what day trading was. So I kind of think of that as like my start time. That was like this time last year, basically. And so it took me like 3 months, I think, to pass an evaluation. And until I got to that point, I felt like I don't even know if I could do this. Do people really do this? Very hard. It was a big, mental hurdle for sure. And then the first time I did it, I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't that bad. And, then I did it again and did it again. And at that point, I tried to really listen to the advice of many people, which was, take these 2 or 3 accounts, get 1 or 2 of them to a payout, take that money from the payout and use that to scale into the business, to buy more accounts. And I tried really hard to do that. And I just felt such incredible pressure doing it that way. I just felt like everything depended on every trade because I literally couldn't move my business forward unless I got these payouts, So I went through this whole like 1 or 2 months where I was just paralyzed. I couldn't even hardly take a trade. I was just like overanalyzing everything and really set me back. And so I started thinking, what would make me feel more comfortable with this? And I realized I just needed some backups. I needed to have extra accounts so that if I were to lose 1 or 2 or whatever, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It wouldn't derail my whole plan. And so I just made the decision that I was going to set the desire for profit aside temporarily and build capital. And so that's what I did. I spent the next few months just trying to max out, kind of the main prop firms, got my 20 Apex accounts and went to Take Profit Trader next and, just kind of worked through it and got as many accounts as I could and then felt like, okay, now I feel comfortable. I could lose a couple of these, it'd be no big deal. And I also realized that I could risk really small and still have it amount to a lot, over all of those accounts. So I know that's different than most people do it, but that's how I, got to this point where I have so many accounts.
Yeah, and I think you're giving the hot take too, and I think that also it sounds like you started right. 3 months to pass the challenge, and then trying the normal mechanism where you're building those 1 to 3 up to actually get a payout is really hard because just to pass the challenge is one thing, but then to get a payout is an entirely new thing, right? It's a different strategy. You're probably risking smaller. You're protecting that capital. Your psychology is running wild. So yeah, and I love that hot take. Actually, what we just found in Echo, based on the aggregated metrics that we have, is that people who are spending more money are making 10 times more and they're only needing to spend a little bit more. It's like a couple thousand more, but they're making 10 times more in ROI from prop firms than people who are not spending as much. So sounds like you took that path, the more aggressive path, and I think his budget allows. That makes a lot of sense. So you scaled to how many accounts?
I have 65 at the moment. And
65. And how much in capital is that?
it's like 3.3 million.
That
But
I have to pause there because I haven't seen a single person in the trading community with 65 accounts and managing 3.3 million from prop firms, all from prop firms. How many prop firms is that? Do you know?
I think it's 9.
9 prop firms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're laying out the blueprint, right? And tell the people your motto really quick.
Risk small and scale big.
Risk small and scale big and build the flipping business, right?
Build a flip. Yep, build a flip.
And it sounds like you've done that, and that's it seems like with so many accounts you can risk small, even if you risk $100 a trade, let's say across 30 accounts, and you're shooting for 200. Now your upside is really really big, right? So can you talk about how you manage all of those accounts and what that feels like? Is it difficult to manage all of those accounts?
Yeah, people ask me that all the time, and it really isn't difficult. It was. I was using spreadsheets and, it just was so hard to keep track of what the drawdown was on all of them and all of that. And so when I got involved with the beta testing for Echo, I was like, this is my answer. This is gonna help me do this. And one thing I wanna be clear about is I'm only manually trading about 35 of those accounts. I do use automation with the prop firms that allow that. So I have all of those accounts connected to Echo, even though I'm not manually trading them, just because it allows me to pull all the metrics. I can look at the performance of the different algo models that I use. So I think it sounds a little bit misleading to say that I have 65 accounts that I'm actively managing because it's really only 35. But the thing that I love about Echo is not only does it make it so easy to connect all those accounts compared to what I was using before. It's just seconds to connect the accounts. I can see what my drawdown is for each account. It knows, what the drawdown is for each account type. I can see, my real-time P&L and my P&L for the day and for the week. And so and then another thing that I get asked about a lot is like, how do you keep track of, the consistency rules and all that? I don't even worry about the consistency rules because I risk so low. But I do go in and set daily profit limits and daily loss limits in Echo. And so that allows me, like if I catch a runner, my Apex accounts will cut at $400 profit, but my, Tradeify or whatever will just go until I decide to exit the trade. And so I don't even have to think about that. I don't risk enough that I ever have to worry about, violating the max loss limits, the old Apex legacy thing, the maximum adverse excursion.
Yeah.
I don't even have to think about that. So there's not a bunch of rules that I have to think about because Echo tracks everything for me, but also just because of the way that I trade. I'm not shooting for these home runs, I just don't. Because I don't need to with 35 accounts.
Yeah, and I think you're really laying out the blueprint for a lot of people, not only to master your psychology and your emotions by risking small, but to then scale really, really large and stay within the prop firm rules. I can't tell you how many, prop firm accounts that I've blown, and many of them were for violating rules that I actually wasn't even aware of. So like the max adverse excursion, for example. I don't think a lot of people, unless you're a quant, even know what that means. People are going to get cited for these rules, and they might get an email at the end of the day. It's like, hey, you violated this rule. You don't even know what that is because you didn't read close enough and really study exactly what that rule meant. And you're just flying under the radar of all those rules because you're trading completely normally at a low risk size, right?
I also read the rules and understand all of them and
Yeah.
train
Yeah.
the
Well, that's helpful.
ChatGPT to manage them all for me.
That's helpful. That is helpful. Okay, so let me rewind a little bit. I'm sure it's not all been sunshine and rainbows. Talk to us about your biggest challenges along the way to getting to 65 accounts.
I think just being willing to set aside the big bucks in pursuit of building the business, and as a business owner, I understand very much, ROI and every decision that we make in our business, it's always if we spend these dollars, what will this bring us?
Yeah.
And so it was hard, watching people who, got payouts before I did, I struggled with that emotionally, seeing people that, oh, but these guys, got started trading 3 months after me and they've already gotten a payout and I hadn't gotten one at that point. So it was hard, but I just tried to stay focused on what my plan was, to build the capital first and then focus on the payouts. I think, the other thing is just the typical stuff. It was very difficult to pass an evaluation the first time. I felt like I don't know if I can do it. And then, getting a funded account and not being terrified to trade it. I had to get over that hurdle. And then getting over the hurdle of, not trading one or two together, but eventually 35. I didn't just go from 1 to 35 overnight. I gradually worked up to that and that was hard. And then, can I get these suckers past the buffer? That was another hurdle. So I think my journey has been pretty typical, those same things. It's the same trading, it's the same trade, but the mental stuff really does a number on you, I think, when you're kind of moving from one point to another on the journey.
Well, Propro, I think you're very humble. So if we look at your timeline, I don't think your journey has been typical. Let's just compare it to mine for 1 second. So I've been trading for about 4 years, and it took me about 2 years to become consistent. So already right there in that 2 years, and I made all the mistakes. Revenge trading, FOMO. I'm highly analytical as an engineer. So I overanalyze and analysis paralysis. I was able to overcome most of that within 2 years. That's not a terrible timeline, right? But if we look at your timeline, 3 months you're able to pass a challenge, and then within a year you're able to build 65 accounts and $3.3 million. So just taking a second to congratulate you on that. I don't think that timeline is typical whatsoever. I definitely think you're at one end of the spectrum, even though you went through some of the common mistakes, the jealousy and the psychology of it. So that's amazing. I think your timeline is very, very quick.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it.
I know it feels like a long journey all the time, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think the last one, managing the 65 accounts, is basically it's split in two. One is automation and one is manual trading. Does it feel like you're managing one account still with the software that you use?
Yeah. I mean, it really does. I took a trade this morning that was $70 risk, and, I that's how I think of it. I'm risking $70. I'm not doing the math and going, "Okay, what is this over 35 accounts?" But that $70 win, netted me 140 times 35. But I don't have to think about, I don't have to think about anything. I just take the trade I would normally take with one account, and Echo does the rest for me. I mean, it's just very simple.
Yeah, and I think especially if you're a new trader watching this, following what Prop Girl is saying is massive because again, small base hits can add up. If you have 30 accounts, up to 50, 60 plus accounts, those base hits can really add up to life-changing money. Even risking $100 on a trade, making 200 across 30 accounts is $6,000 in a day.
Monday.
Not many people in the entire world can ever say that they've made $6,000 in a day, and that's risking $100 per account. So
Yeah.
pretty incredible. Prop Girl, last question. What's next for you?
Well, keeping my other business running, getting better at trading, trying to build up, my social media stuff, which is a fun new thing for me. And I also have a recent cancer diagnosis, and I'm gonna kick cancer's butt. So that's what's next for me.
Well, we'll be right there with you on the path. You have a lot of people behind you, there to support you, the mentor that you've become in the Investigio community, for example. I know a lot of people are right there with you supporting you and have your back, whatever you need. That's amazing. I'm gonna say two more things for Prop Girl here. Prop Girl, what's your code for Echo Trader that people should use?
Prop girl, all one
Prop
word.
Girl. Easy. Easy. So go use code Prop Girl. Go follow Prop Girl on Instagram and TikTok. Anything else, Prop Girl?
Facebook. Yeah,
And
because I
Facebook.
yeah.
Thank you. And thank you so much for coming on and doing this interview because again I think you have become an organic leader. Your timeline is absolutely incredible. I truly don't think at least anyone that I know of, and I follow a bunch of gurus that I know a bunch of traders out there can say that they have amassed 65 accounts, 3.3 plus million dollars. So congratulations. I think your journey is amazing.
Thanks.